this race.
Monster run off turn 2.
Can't get it to the high side. Here he comes. There he goes.
Oh, no, Kansas saves, and here they come to the line.
I'm a fortune teller who sees the future, and I see it now.
I'm expecting something with Ferrari this weekend, and he ended up at Hendrick somehow.
Oh, God. No, please. Oh, God. I don't like that thought.
Driving to 5.
I can see the goosebumps that just hit Jacob just now.
Carson.
Now, let's talk about NASCAR. Why don't we?
Now, that was a lot of storylines going on there.
Oh, yeah. Denny Hamlin with the Xfinity race dub on Saturday at Darlington. Nothing too unusual.
He schooled everybody on that last restart.
But the big story about the Xfinity Series right now, Parker Kligerman. As of right now, if my playoff standings will load, as of right now, Parker Kligerman is 1 point out of the playoff picture. Riley Herbst has a 1 point advantage over Parker Kligerman for the Xfinity Series playoffs. So that is
Kligerman got screwed.
Yes, he did, by Sam Mayer. And as much as I like Junior Motorsports, I'm giving a lot of crap to Sam Mayer on that one.
Yeah, I did see that.
That kind of stunk. But Friday night, Bristol, Xfinity Series, that is going to be a good race. It always is. And with this point battle coming down to the line, it should be good. It should be good. So definitely looking forward to that Friday night. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking way ahead. I'm thinking about in 2 weeks, I've got my head in the clouds for Bristol. I'm just so excited for going to Bristol. Saturday is the Xfinity race at Kansas. I don't know why I thought I was a week ahead of myself. Like I said, I guess I'm just so excited to go to Bristol again. But anyway, and we were even talking about this last week, how the Bristol or the Xfinity playoffs start at Bristol. Anyway, Saturday afternoon is the final regular season race for the Xfinity Series. So, should be a good race for Xfinity Series. 1 point is the difference between Riley Herbst and Parker Kligerman. Who do we think gets that advantage?
I think Parker still gets it.
Yeah,
I think
like
so.
Parker right now.
It's hard to argue against Parker.
Because they've been fast, and I'm almost tempted to say that 48 bunch has been better than the 98. And the 90 in the 00, who's the teammate of the 98, has won 2 races so far. Yeah, Cole Custer has won 2 races to Riley Herbst, none.
Watch Herbst now win.
Yeah, now that I've said that. Honestly, I wouldn't mind, but I would just rather see Parker Kligerman get in.
You think say he goes deep into the playoffs, you think he gets a cup ride?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be a full-time Xfinity driver just like Justin Allgaier.
100%.
I'd like to see him get a cup ride just because he's such a likable guy, too.
Well, I've met him before. I met him at Richmond 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. Nice dude. Great to talk to. But yeah, Xfinity Series Saturday afternoon, I believe. And the Truck Series, it's their first elimination race of the playoffs. So as of right now, Ben Rhodes and Matt DiBenedetto are out. Rose is 3 behind Nicholas Sanchez, who for the last playoff spot. DiBenedetto, he is 20 under the cut line. Matt Crafton is 9 above the cut line. Zane Smith is 29 above. Hocevar, Eckes, and Heim are locked into the next round on points. Enfinger and Majeski are locked in on a win. Do we see the truck playoff standings changing any, or do we see a different driver being eliminated?
I will say this, that I can't believe Crafton is on the line on the bubble like that. It's just hard to believe with him.
The funny thing about it is that he always is, and then he kind of just sneaks out of nowhere and gets in.
Still, though, it's weird thinking about him being right on that line and not winning. Because every time it seems like every time I turn on a truck race, he's up there.
Seems like every time I turn it on, he's in like 12th.
When
I
was
guess we have the opposite effect.
When was the last time Crafton won a race? Because it's been a minute.
Since a while.
Yeah, let's see. Hold on. All time. Since 2020.
Really?
What when was that? What when was that?
Kansas.
Oh.
No.
So since 2017, and so including the 2017 season, he has only won 2 races.
That's hard to believe. Granted,
Yeah, I'll be honest though.
What?
Well, looking back on the points, I think if anything changes, maybe Ben Rose pops himself up there, but I don't see much changing. Matt Dibby, who announced he's not returning to that team this week, he's not returning to the playoffs next week either. So, or after next week either. So,
Kind of a weird time to announce it though, because
yeah,
mid-playoff run. You know, you're trying to win a championship. You're below the bubble.
Totally not like Tyler Reddick announcing his departure from RCR last year.
And that isn't good for your crew either. You know? No. It's just an odd time.
Right? So, going back to what we were saying, Truck Series elimination race is this weekend, and Xfinity Series playoffs are set this weekend, both at Kansas. And then the Cup race this coming weekend, we'll get there. We're just previewing a little bit, but for this past Sunday was Darlington Southern 500 Crown Jewel race, rich tradition with Darlington, and Kyle Larson finally got his Darlington win. He won the Xfinity race there earlier this year in a colleague car, but finally got that Cup win. Interesting race to say the least. I'm not gonna lie, because let's say first stage, it's okay.
I didn't even think the first half was.
Yeah, first half was okay.
The first half was slow, and then that whole last 45 minutes of the race, last hour and a half or so.
Yeah,
all hell.
Then the red flag came. That's when everything went wild.
And the funny thing is, it wasn't even a full moon last night.
That's true.
And it's not even like that red flag was a while. It was 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And the race was still over 4 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
So Larson finally got his first Darlington win. It's his 22nd career win, if I remember correctly. His first at Darlington, first in the Southern 500. And Fun fact, I don't know if you guys heard this or not last night, but this is the 500th win for the Hendrick Motorsports engine shop.
Dude.
So that's pretty cool.
In
And
one
then-
way,
They're
I'm
one win away
surprised
from 200
300.
or 300, excuse me, as a team. They're one win away from 300 as a team. William Byron will probably get them that 300.
I think Byron's going to get that. So it'll be kind of interesting if Byron does get it, because Elliott got the 250th, Larson got the 269th to break the tie with Petty Enterprises for most all time. Byron gets it in the 24 with Jeff Gordon getting the 100th. Be pretty cool.
watch Bowman get it. I got some opinions on Bowman when we get to it.
Yeah, watch him get it after you go on your rant about Alex Bowman.
I know.
Yeah, so you know what? Why not? Chris, why don't you go on your rant about Alex Bowman real quick?
Oh, that crash. I mean, I understand that Suarez was racing a little hard, probably a little early to be racing that hard, but at the same time, what was that block? He looked like Joey Logano.
So I don't know if you guys saw it on social media, but he did have a post-race interview, or just an interview in general, but he said he didn't know that Suarez was to the outside of him. I don't know if his spotter didn't tell him or what, but it sounds like that Bowman
He tweeted.
Bowman didn't know.
He tweeted late last night.
He later tweeted.
Yeah.
He tweeted and said that he. What did he say exactly? He said that he.
I mean,
Bad block.
that was good of him to eventually admit it, but at the same time, I was just downright irresponsible. I mean,
Well, definitely wasn't his
funny
smartest decision.
and if
Funny
it's
thing
on
is-
the spotter, then the spotter needs to have a talking to.
Mm-hmm. Well, the funny thing is, if that was Joey Logano or Brad Keselowski, everyone would be calling for their head right now. But since it's Alex Bowman, they're just turning a shoulder.
In all fairness, they have a very bad reputation when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. And this is coming from somebody who likes Alex Bowman.
But that going on that, I don't know. I'm starting to think Alex Bowman might be a little overrated. I mean, yeah, he was leading the
Hot take.
in the early part of the season, but after he had his injury, we were talking about this off camera. After he had his injury, he just hasn't been the same, and honestly, he just doesn't impress me. There are other drivers, I think, that would impress me more in that 48.
Like who?
Let me think.
And not Austin Dillon.
I have to bring up points list because
Well, speaking of impressive runs, talk about Carson Hocevar. 17th yesterday in a legacy car. Not bad for a second start.
you know what? I think Tyler Reddick or Chris Buescher. Although I know that's not going to happen, but
Yeah, because they're signed to Toyota and Ford, respectively.
but just in general, they would. I think they would be better in that 48. Maybe more so.
Oh, Lord.
Maybe more.
Ross
so.
Chastain.
I was going to say Tyler Reddick.
I don't think that'll ever happen because Reddick is committed to 2311.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying though. And
Everybody just has to admit there has to be a Casey Kane at HMS at all times, and right now that's Alex Bowman, okay?
that's
Okay.
true. That's very true.
There's always a Casey Kane or a Dale Jr. at HMS. There's always one guy lagging behind, and this year it's Alex Bowman. That could be different next year, but this may very well just look like what this team looked like a few years ago, where you've got, Johnson, Gordon, Jr., who are all winning a bunch, and then Kane, who
Casey
wins
Kane.
once every couple of years, and is running okay, but isn't as much of a factor. This is entirely similar. I mean, it's just almost the same thing.
Yeah, you do have a
This
point
is
there.
2014 in HMS terms, because 2 years ago, Bowman had a 3-win season. So you equate that to Casey Kane's first year in the 5 car, where he won a couple races in 2012. The Coke 600 specifically, right? Same year.
I was at that
So you
race.
go a couple years. Yeah. So you go a couple years later, right? He didn't win any races in, I think, 2015, if I'm not mistaken, or 2014. See what I'm saying? This is the exact same thing that happened. HMS just runs through cycles, and that's why Bowman will be there for probably another 5 years.
At least
He'll be there a little while.
Yeah,
He signed for a couple years anyways, and I think HMS just had a lot of turnover in the last few years, and they finally have this stability that I think they would like to keep for as long as they can. I'd imagine they'd like to keep it. I mean, just at least up until 2025, but their goal would be to try and keep everything together until the end of the decade, especially if they keep winning like this and they keep. Jesus.
but yeah, I just really didn't like that crash. And poor old Harrison Burton. He's another one that I think might be a good fit. I know it's unrealistic, but I think he could be a good fit for Hendrick too.
Well, and that's the thing. He hasn't really shown what he's capable of. Now, granted, he's in a B- car, a Penske-supported car through the Wood brothers. But when he was in the Xfinity Series for Gibbs, he was tearing it up.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and that's one of the things, because I've been seeing reports saying that Burton doesn't know where he'll be next year. Maybe he could be in the 10 car next year, or I don't know. And we've been seeing a lot of those reports. Maybe he could be in the 31 next year, because that seat's not confirmed as well. Justin Haley could be going back to Xfinity. It's one of those deals where we're going to have to wait and see what silly season does. And that's pretty much already underway with Josh Berry going to the 4 car.
Do you think Ty Gibbs do you think Ty Dillon gets a full-time ride?
No. Is he?
Maybe in the Xfinity Series.
Because I'm thinking he might get the Austin Dillon treatment.
Which is the silver spoon treatment?
Yeah.
Hasn't Richard made it clear enough he don't like Ty? He only likes Austin? Has he not made that clear? No, I'm just kidding.
Apparently
kidding.
not.
That's just a joke. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of their family life, so that's just a joke. But no, I think Ty could maybe get a full-time ride, but it damn sure ain't going to be in the Cup Series. Ain't no way.
Anyways, yeah. I just didn't like. I think Harrison Burton, to me, I believe, is just a good talent that things just haven't lined up for him yet.
I like Harrison. I think he'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just because he's the same age as me. But
and he has a lot more money.
Yeah, we were joking about it last night when he was doing his interview, and I felt so bad that he got wrecked out over, Bowman's junk. But honestly, I was just like, he's supposed to be my age, and he looks like he's 3 years younger than me because he's got such a baby face. He's I don't know, he's so clean, baby face. He looks like he's 20.
That's what I said about John Hunter Nemechek. Then I looked him up, and he's 26 or 27.
I still can't stand John Hunter Nemechek. I think it's a personal thing.
Really liked him.
I think it's a personal thing because I don't like his attitude most of the time.
I don't really like his dad.
Well, you could say the same thing about Tyler Reddick too, though, about him looking young. I mean, Tyler's 27 and a father, and can probably pass as a college student.
Yeah, although in all fairness, I was 26 and a college student.
And Ty Gibbs is what? He's 2 years younger than myself and Mason. He's going to be Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs is 20, right? Yeah, 20 years
Yes.
old. Ty Gibbs is. Man can't even go out and drink. Terrible. Imagine winning. Like, I'd be so pissed if I was young and I won like the Daytona 500 before I turned 21, and that was the only time I did. Just because, like,
Can't drink champagne.
I would just pray to God I win all the big stuff after I turn 21. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right.
That always begs the question: what would happen if an underage driver won the U.S. Grand Prix? I get they couldn't give him champagne.
They'd give him
Grape juice.
Apple juice.
I think apple cider.
Yeah, apple cider. There you go.
That stuff that they give to the drivers in those tracks where alcohol's prohibited.
Pretty much. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bright future, but I think Harrison Burton has a lot to give still.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
noticed one thing about Harrison Burton and Jeff Burton is Jeff Burton doesn't call races like Darrell Waltrip would call races while his brother was racing. He would openly be rooting for his brother, and it seemed like Jeff Burton hides that a lot.
Well, it was a different time, and I think back then in like TV and stuff, there was that bias was, I would say, a little bit more allowed, and I would say it was definitely more appreciated. That was the big thing I would say. Back then in like 2001, like all that stuff's way more appreciated back then than it is now. If that was the case now, right, and Jeff Burton had a similar reaction. I mean, he did have a reaction to his son crashing yesterday, but if it was a Darrell Waltrip level reaction every time his son's involved in something, I feel like it would just the media and the way the fans are these days, it would not get perceived as well as the way Darrell Waltrip did it. And so I think that it's just a media thing. It's the way the media works these days, where you have to try and keep your bias out of it. And Jeff Burton will probably tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah, probably. Although at the same time, I don't see anything wrong with him having quite a bit of bias towards Harrison.
No, and that's fair, but I think it's a similar thing to, Dale Jr. trying not to show bias towards Junior Motorsports when covering Xfinity races. It's just trying to have that transparency, and he does a great job with that, as Jacob was going to say. He's fantastic about it.
And Tony Stewart, he can do a pretty good job with that too. Although
because
it comes out.
Bristol earlier this year, he was actually mad at Priest when
I remember
he took out Larson, which was funny to me. But
his bias was different. It's not like he was getting mad at other drivers for wrecking his team or doing something to his team. He's pissed off at his drivers, right? He's pissed off at his team. Right, so that's okay. That's a pass.
Yeah.
You're not yelling at it like he's not pissed off and saying, "Oh, Kyle Larson just wrecked my driver." Like, no, he's just like, literally, just like, why the? I should.
Yes. Oh.
Why is my driver stupid? Sorry, that was a real Tony Stewart moment for you.
That was a smoke moment if I've ever heard one.
I don't even know that one. That one was out of left field. I'm so sorry. I didn't plan that one. Normally I'm really good at hiding it, but see, I started talking about Tony, and he gets me all riled up. And then obviously, Tony's Tony, and yeah. So whoops.
Just Tony being typical Tony Stewart. Oh man, that was.
I miss his interviews.
Oh, that was great. I'm gonna love editing tonight. Anyway, we previewed Kansas a little bit earlier with the trucks and Xfinity. We got Cup coming up this weekend on Sunday. Is the second race of the round of 16 as of right now, the 4 that are out below the cut line are Bubba Wallace. He is 1 point below the cut line. Harvick is 2 below the cut line. Stenhouse is 4 below the cut line. And McDowell, who I predicted would go through, is 19 below the cut line. So it's not looking great with McDowell. The other 3 definitely looking like they can have solid runs to try to get into the round of 12. As of right now, Logano is +3, Bell is +1, and Chastain is +13, and Blaney is +16 over the cut line. So
all I'm saying is I said Joey wouldn't advance this round, and he didn't look fantastic last night.
No.
They ran up front, but they had an issue which I don't. I looked away from the TV. I didn't realize. I don't know what the issue was for him.
And then I
But
sent you a
had an
text
issue.
about what happened.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said he hit the wall. You said he hit the wall a couple of times,
Mhm.
which just continues to play right into my hand as I predicted he would not make the next round. But who was my other prediction? Because I know I have McDowell, Wallace, Logano. Do you know who my fourth was?
I've got my notes right now. So your 4 was, according to this, was McDowell, Blaney, Stenhouse, and Keselowski.
Stenhouse and Keselowski. I could have swore I had Joey. I could be wrong.
Probably thinking of Blaney. Chris, you had Harvick, Stenhouse, McDowell, and Logano.
To get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You look good right now. You're looking good, and despite the I'll say this: despite the fact that Bubba and Kevin are both below the cut line, I'm not ruling them out. And what makes this even more interesting right now is those 2 are going to be strong. Kevin's going to be really strong considering it's his last year. He sure as hell isn't going to go out like this. And to make matters worse, Ricky Stenhouse is 4 points out.
God.
The man did what he needed to do yesterday, and now he gets to go to Kansas, where he ran decent earlier in the year, and then he gets to go to Bristol. Bristol's kind of I don't want to call it a free-for-all, but it's an opportunity for some of those smaller teams to find some speed. We've seen it in years past. Does Ricky Stenhouse advance to the next round? That's not a far-fetched thing to talk about. That's not far-fetched.
I don't ask for much, but please don't.
And you know what, McDowell, a rough night last night. It's unfortunate to see, but I think it was kind of predicted for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think like Ross Chastain was very up and down. It took him a while to kind of work his way through the field. So him being +13, I think that's a win for that team coming out of this weekend. You look at Brad Keselowski +18, that's a win. Ryan Blaney +16. All of those guys have they won this weekend. They may not have won and advanced themselves into the next round, but they got themselves a slight victory. And to be ahead of drivers like Logano, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, that's pretty good. That's a solid start to the playoffs. Now we run to Kansas, where things get even tougher at a much wider racetrack, right? There's going to be a lot more room. We're going to see more of that multi-groove racing back. I think Kansas is going to be really interesting. I'm really excited for this first round of the playoffs because things are ramping up and things are close. They are very close, and they are close among guys who could be competitive come the final round.
You know, I'm thinking Bubba's going to have a good run here in Kansas. I don't think he'll win.
That's where he won last year.
I don't think he'll win, but I think he'll have a very good finish, top 10.
We don't pick podiums here in the NASCAR segment, but he's on my podium at 3rd. So I think Bubba has a good weekend. Honestly, it might be. Who knows? If anything's going to happen, he's going to get involved in a wreck or something, and it's not going to be fun. But I'm praying to God that Bubba has a good weekend because I want to see Bubba do well this weekend.
So who are we thinking for winners for Kansas?
I'm thinking Toyota.
It's funny that you say that because they have won every Kansas race of the next-gen era. And I think 9 of the last 15 is what I read. 9 of the last 15 Kansas races.
So you're thinking the law of averages will come into play?
Well, unless Denny Hamlin wrecks Larson again, possibly. But I don't know. Because this one's going to be I think it's going to be tougher to pick than the spring race.
I'm really feeling Toyota, but I'm not feeling Bubba or Reddick. I'm leaning towards Denny Hamlin.
Oh, God.
Okay.
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 Who are you thinking, Mason?
Like you said, this one's tough this week. It's a tough one to kind of decipher. But if I have to pick somebody this week, man, I mean, there's guys that I like. I think Reddick could be solid. I do really like Denny Hamlin, and man, I just can't bring myself to do it. I know I've predicted the MTJ wins before, and I feel a couple coming in this playoff run, but it's just not this week. It's just not this week. He's close, but I can't pick him. Folks. Give me, and I know it might be contradictory to what I said in my who's going to get eliminated in the first round. This one's bold.
Really?
This one's bold. It contradicts what I said of who gets eliminated in the first round. I want Brad Keselowski.
Wow.
I want Brad Keselowski to win Kansas.
All right.
That's very bold.
Okay.
I think something happens. There's some opportunity for Keselowski to do it, and I think in this instance, Buescher's behind him rather than him being behind Buescher. I mean, we saw him yesterday. Buescher finished top 3, and part of that is because top 3, and part of that was because of Keselowski. Keselowski shot him right up there because he gave him a huge push. I think it works the other way around, and Keselowski gets a win, advances himself into the next round of the playoffs. And on the flip side of that, Chris Buescher looks even better trying to advance into the next round of the playoffs. He finishes well, I'd say top 10, and both RFK cars possibly lock themselves into the next round of the playoffs in a shocking event. I know that goes against what I'm saying. I only know that because for whatever reason, I feel like I said Joey. I definitely could have said not Joey, but I feel like Joey's getting kicked out. Get Joey out of here. The defending champion is gone. Gone, out of here. Out of the first round.
I would have said Kyle Busch if Kyle Busch was still at Gibbs.
I like Busch this weekend, but I do. It's just it's hard for me. I don't know. There's something about the Chevys. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them this weekend.
I don't have a good feeling about RFK personally. I'm just not feeling it.
Well, they've been proving us wrong in the last couple weeks.
That's true.
So, man.
One thing I'm going to check too. I'm checking the race results. I need to check where did everybody finish in that race, in last Kansas race, because that's important too.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of at a crossroads right now because I've got 2 drivers in my mind right now. Because, see, Bubba finished 4th, Chastain 5th, Logano 6th, MTJ 8th, and Reddick 9th. And where did Buescher finish 17th? Okay.
Don't tell me that.
I'm just saying. It's been a while since MTJ has won at Kansas, so I think MTJ is going to get the dub this coming weekend at Kansas.
All right. Let's see if Magic Man falsely predicted if Jacob has the magic now after predicting him right last time. He might have the magic. We're gonna find out. That now I'm ready. Now I'm excited. I want to know who's got the MTJ magic right now. It might be neither of us. We'll find out.
It probably won't be either of us.
I will say this: I do hope Bubba wins because I really want to see him advance.
Absolutely,
man. Could you imagine the riot that would happen at Bristol if that had happened again? And I'll be there to experience it.
Oh, man. Imagine if he won someplace like Charlotte.
Charlotte's not that bad, actually. Charlotte really isn't that bad. It's Bristol, Talladega, and North Wilkesboro that's really bad. in the area.
Now I can see Talladega and North Wilkesboro. I can really see that.
Interesting note. I'm just taking a look at the point standings here, seeing it where everybody runs. Interesting note. William Byron ran well enough yesterday that despite the fact that he ran well enough and had enough playoff points, despite the fact that Kyle Larson won, William Byron technically scored more points.
He has more points.
By a point.
Yeah,
And then the next closest is Tyler Reddick at 60. So there's 15-point gap between Larson and Byron up top. But not between Larson and Byron, but between those two and the third place guy,
everybody
Tyler
else.
Reddick. There's a 15-point gap.
So,
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and Byron really didn't get that many stage points yesterday, did he?
I think he did.
I don't remember. Let's see.
I know Hamlin won both stages, and he looked strong. Looked like he could have won, and then obviously had the issue.
Byron P5, and Byron did not score any stage points in stage 1, so he only scored points in stage 2.
So and where did he finish? He didn't finish he finished fourth. Yeah, he finished fourth. So still a good finish, but dang.
And Larson outscored him by 15 points.
Mm-hmm.
And Byron still has the points lead.
Tells you what playoff points do.
I hate this system. Anyway, before we go on to a rant about the playoffs, gentlemen, do we have any? Do we have anything else that we want to add on before we end off the episode?
Earlier I was thinking about up-and-coming drivers. I started thinking about Austin Hill. And, I'm really having good feelings about him. I think he should at least have a part-time Cup ride next year, if not full-time. Does he have a full-time ride?
He has for Xfinity next year. He signed a deal to stay with Richard Childress Racing next year for Xfinity.
That's good. That's where he should be.
And I think he should stay in Xfinity, like Allgaier.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have good feeling about Hill.
Yeah, I mean, you've got these guys that are in Xfinity, like Allgaier. Nemechek will definitely be in Cup one day. But, you've got guys like Gregson who will more than likely have a ride next year, but we just don't know where. Colleague has been thrown around. ThorSport has been thrown around. It just depends on where the stars align for certain drivers. So Austin Hill has definitely got a ride next year. Gregson obviously doesn't, but there are still some things that are being played behind the scenes for Gregson next year. So silly season is in full effect already, and I love it.
I still want to see Ross Chastain in the 3. That would be okay.
Be better than Austin Dillon.
It gives a good legacy to the 3 car.
You know who I want to see in the 3 car?
Kevin Harvick?
Ty Gibbs.
Nah, bro. You know who I want to see in the 3 car? Alex Palou, bro.
Man.
That would be weird. That would be very weird.
That'd actually be funny. So before we...
Roman Grosjean to the 3.
Man, before we start talking about the NASCAR multiverse, where can we find you guys on BSB and on social media?
Well, on Twitter, you can find me at Mace Hollywood over there. You guys can follow me on the Backsports page over there on www. backsportspage.com. I've got articles up there going up all the time, all things NASCAR, all things NFL. The season is coming up for all of my football fans. We are very close. NFL starts this week. College started this past weekend. So a lot of stuff going on. Make sure you guys are checking out all the NFL and college football content because we've got plenty of it over on Backsports Page. Follow me on Twitter at Mace Hollywood. Follow me on Instagram, mason.wood01. And have a safe and wonderful Labor Day week. And we'll see you next week. Chris, your turn.
You can follow me on Twitter, CJ_the line. Yeah, and you can follow me, Christopher Shoemaker, on Backsports Page, and I may or may not have something in the works. We'll see.
Yeah, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JWBarker24 and on BSP with our Motorsports page. Got some articles in the works right now, especially after this past week with Darlington and the playoffs are underway. So be on the lookout for those. Once again, guys, this has been Jacob Barker, Mason Wood, and Chris Shoemaker with Coming to the Line. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Have a safe Labor Day weekend and week. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Don't do drugs. Have fun. Make new friends. Stay in school.
Nah.
Nah.